Leave the laser on, Enrique.
Ahí está, ahí está.
Okay, I got it.
Oh my God.
I got it. Ya lo puedes apagar.
Oh yeah.
I don't bite.
Come on, one more. Right.
One more. This is a good story.
Come on, you can.
Powerful brothers.
Come on, for us, for unity. Come on.
Powerful brothers.
For unity. Come on.
There you go.
Thank you.
Oneness.
More brothers, more.
For oneness. Come on. For oneness, guys.
To share with the people, with the rest of the world.
For world peace.
Yes.
For brotherhood.
World peace. Come on.
Come on, guys. We love
Oh,
you.
there
Thank you.
World peace.
Yeah.
Embraced me, and I was fully embraced with weight still on my hands, and I kept thinking, I don't want this to end, and I don't ever want to forget this. I have no idea what's going on, if I'm making contact or if I'm being communed, but this is amazing, and I just felt euphoria, and it was just the most incredible thing.
And then while I was working with you guys, there were light sources that I don't know where they were coming from, but it felt like headlights. But I would turn around and there's nothing there, but the illumination was there. That was happening through the entire thing. At one point there was a huge white orb of light that it came out, it bursted out from the wooded area, and then it shot all the way across right over your heads. It was magical. It was something you'd see in a fairy tale.
To me, it was something that I'm not going to tell anyone because nobody's going to believe it. Everyone's going to say I'm crazy.
Let's wish for a big power up.
Yes.
Let's wish for a big power up, brothers. There you go.
There we go.
A ver, ¿dónde está?
Ay, recárgate en el coche, hay un coche aquí. Ajá, aquí. Ajá, te la están, ajá. ¿Viste?
Ya la tengo.
Oh, wow, ahí va.
Ajá, enorme.
Sí. Acá traen el láser, pero el láser las agarran como chido, viejo.
Ya lo estoy filmando, viejo.
Guys, come look at that fast before it goes.
Yeah, he's...
I got it on tape. I got it on tape.
Right.
I got it on tape.
Glad that you mentioned that because the crystals are different. You guys didn't receive the same crystals. For some of you were really small and very bright white. Some of you have like a cone, bright thing, pointy thing. Some of you in green, some of you in violet, long stuff. And that was different for everybody. Some were formed from one hand to another, like jumping sparks. Some were formed through the hands, like zzz. And then when we saw that they were already formed, then we did the integration. Yeah, it doesn't make sense because those things were big, and how you integrate that thing? Yeah, but you just do it, whatever happens. What I did was just accommodate his palms so he'd be ready for the reception. And when I do that, normally I see a spark of light in one of the hands, either the right or the left. When that happens, I just leave them and go around. So when he says that I touch his hand, I didn't touch it. I just put the hands up and went around. So the spark was not mine. I don't spark people.
You did it to yourself.
Experience, and then if you guys feel like sharing also, it would be nice. So Marcel?
Well, I guess I'm going to start from when I sat down after, this is when we were up on the hill, and we broke up into groups and went up with Enrique and Maddie and Kimberly were taking people up. But after it all, the event occurred, I sat down and everyone was a few people were starting to share, and the only question I had is, Enrique, what did you do to me? And Enrique, what did I experience? Because I was just like overwhelmed by it. So now let's back up. Maddie took our group up the hill, and it was very energetic, especially by the woods. And as we're approaching, I could see like very thin, like little pillars of beams, and I saw different sizes. But I thought that was the extent of the whole contact thing. So I'm like that, and I'm like, oh my God, they're everywhere. I can see them, and they're coming closer. And I was just opening up and said, I'm ready. I wanted to leave the group and move forward, but I didn't want to overstep my boundaries. I just kind of went to a side and stood there, and I was just overwhelmed. And then Maddie said, we need to get a little bit closer. So we got closer, and I still witnessed the beings that were still there. And then we ended up going even closer to form our circular group as everybody else did. By then, they dissipated. I didn't see them anymore. So we did the circle thing, and we had our hands out as we were instructed to do. And Megan was next to me. I could hear Enrique. I had my eyes closed. Enrique telling her to take her gloves off. And I had thin gloves, and I figured, well, he's not going to tell me to take mine off because mine are thin, not like thick ones like hers. So he comes to me and says, take your gloves off. So I take my gloves off, and then he just readjusts my palms, and then he goes, what I thought was, he goes like this, and I feel like static electricity, a little spark. And I'll go. And then I was expecting some instructions because I heard him instructing the people, and he walks away. Like, okay, I got zapped and I'm going to sit here. So I'm hanging on, and all of a sudden, within seconds, I feel like this, and starts pushing down on my hand and going like this, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting the cesium crystal. So cool. Wow, it's a big crystal because it's now starting to push my whole arm. And as soon as it got to here, the other arm started, and I started feeling a lot of downward pressure where I actually was kind of fighting my arms. So the other one started, and it was creeping. So it's tantamount to somebody, and I'm gonna demonstrate because it's difficult. Somebody just going like this to you and pressing down, and then it went up my arms like this and squeezing in my shoulders and in my chest and my back, and just embraced me. And I was fully embraced with weight still on my hands, and I kept thinking, I don't want this to end, and I don't ever want to forget this. I have no idea what's going on, if I'm making contact or if I'm being communed, but this is amazing, and I just felt euphoria, and it was just the most incredible thing, and it just lasted. I'm like, well, is it my hands that are falling asleep, and that's what I'm feeling? But no, it was constant, and I don't know, it went on for minutes and minutes, and then finally I felt somebody in front of me, and it was Kimberly, and she grabbed my hands, I think like everybody else had, and she put them together and then brought it up to my chest. And as she did that, it was the most euphoric experience, because it just over here was so overwhelming, like instant reaction. I just teared up, and it wouldn't stop flowing. And I was sitting there, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And and then everybody else did their thing, and then the whole time I'm just weeping. And we walked all the way back to the group, and I sat down, and I wept the whole time. And it was just joy. I don't know, it was just overwhelming, but that's the experience I had. And when I sat down, it was such an incredible experience, and people started sharing. I didn't want to share it because it was such a personal thing at that point in time, and I had the only thing that kept coming to mind is, what did Enrique do with that finger, and what did I experience? And then, so that's what I experienced last night.
What I did was just accommodate his palms so he'd be ready for the reception. And when I do that, normally I see a spark of light in one of the hands, either the right or the left. When that happens, I just leave them and go around. So when he says that I touch his hand, I didn't touch it. I just put the hands up and went around. So the spark was not mine. I don't spark people.
You did it to yourself.
So when I started walking over there, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I went in, and as soon as I walked into the space, I experienced a sort of a very powerful white swirling vortex of energy under me. It was illuminated. There was light coming up from it, and when I used a soft eye gaze, the entire space just flooded with these swirling lights, like big streaks of white all over, and there were sparks of light and orbs coming from the trees. So the whole place was amplified with this field of energy and these beings, and he explained to me, you know, hold your hands out. So I did what you guys all did, and when he brought my hands to my chest, my whole body just started trembling. The energy was so powerful, it was moving through me. I felt it coming down through the crown into the earth and back up and swirling around, and when you guys were coming in, he gave me a quick instruction on what to do, but I could see instantly the energy, and it's something that I've always experienced from the time I was little, and I've spent many hours laying in the dark watching lights move and energy and watching things static off of people and spark. And all these years I've been talking about that, but it never really meant anything until I actually had this experience last night where I was working with it and able to do this ceremony with these crystals. It was beautiful. You would hold your hands out and I could see the colors of the sparks. I could see what he was talking about. And he would go, "What do you see?" And then I would tell him and he'd go, "Right." We'd keep going. And then while I was working with you guys, there were light sources that I don't know where they were coming from, but it felt like headlights. But I would turn around and there's nothing there, but the illumination was there. That was happening through the entire thing. At one point there was a huge white orb of light that it came out, it bursted out from the wooded area, and then it shot all the way across right over your heads. It was magical. It was something you'd see in a fairy tale.
I saw it shoot over the
I was like, oh wow. So the energies were really real. They were there. They were working with us. The beings, you know, it was a really tangible experience for me to have, and I'm really grateful for that. At the end, when I went back to my tent, I couldn't go to sleep. I had a really hard time. I had lights emanating from inside of me, swirling around, and I felt like my tent was lit up. I kept thinking there was a light source coming from inside of my tent, and then when I inspected, there wasn't, and then I started unzipping the tent, and I saw this dome of light all around me. It was permeating the inside of my tent and all around my tent, so I was still having that experience even though I was in the tent. And I can still feel a very powerful energy working through. There's this integration going on, and that's it. That was my experience, so I'm really honored that I got to have that. So thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Fabian, also for helping with the sound. Here.
Makeup.
A little bit.
It's all right?
Oh,
Yeah, it's ready.
I thought you were doing something. This is very new to me. I've never, ever, ever experienced something like this. And I saw things that I don't know how to explain. And I'm still trying to explain it to myself because I always try to make sense of things before I believe something different. So the same thing happened. With the heaviness and da-da-da. I didn't see many things. I didn't see the sparkles. I thought something was wrong with me. But then I saw Enrique's eyes glowing. Wow. When I opened my eyes, because I was like, what is going on? And I opened my eyes and I knew he was in front of me. Or someone, and when I looked at him, I was like, oh shoot. Oh my God. And I really, really wanted to run. I wanted to just like get the hell away from me. But then I was brainwashing me and myself and saying, calm down, it's gonna be okay, But then the other side was like, run. And then like everyone said, the heaviness, and I was like, oh my God, I'm tired. The weird thing, I mean, besides the eyes, the weird thing was when you put the crystals, whatever it was, into my chest. Yesterday I couldn't understand that, I couldn't even explain it. But to me it seemed like painful, but not in a painful way, like not a physical pain. But like if somebody punches you in the stomach, and that's the way I was like, huh. I was like, oh my God. And that kind of when you can't breathe, that's what happened up here. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And then that's when I felt like I was gonna faint. My knees started just becoming weak. I was like, I'm gonna fall. It was just like when your blood pressure drops, but it wasn't the blood pressure dropping. It was just, I don't know how to explain it. And then after a few seconds, I started getting something back. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. And then I stood up again, straight. Came back, like my normal self. But then last night, the pain was still there. Uncomfortable, heaviness. I went to talk to you because I was like, oh my God, maybe I'm not gonna wake up. And I told Nelly, if you see something, just wake me up. If you don't hear me breathing. But then he said everything was gonna be okay, that it was normal. And last night I couldn't sleep on my left side. I could only sleep on the right because I felt very uncomfortable sleeping here. So throughout the night I was very tired because I couldn't sleep on the other one. When I woke up, I feel much better today, but to me it was something that I'm not going to tell anyone because nobody's going to believe it. Everyone's going to say I'm crazy. But I did experience it, and it was different and amazing, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
So when we were doing the singing bowl, I kept hearing a bell that sounded like it was right above me. And so I felt like I was going to be one of the people to get up. But I was like, well, we'll see. And so then that's when Kimberly came and got me. And then we headed over there. And I felt like when we got in the circle, I was freezing. Like, I felt like I got even colder. And then my legs, like when we were standing on the outside, my legs just started really shaking, like really bad. And I was like, okay, is it because I'm freezing or is it because of the energy? Because, I mean, I was still calm, but like my body was just like, you know, and I was like, stop it, you know? And so, but my legs started to shake, and then you came around, and then I also sensed that you were kind of like in a hood too, even though I wasn't, because I had my eyes closed, and I just kind of sensed like your presence was kind of like in a hooded, like a brown hooded, you know. And so when we, I couldn't feel my hands though really because it was freezing, so I couldn't feel any weight or anything like that. But when I did this part, it's like I really felt, and I pictured like fuchsia because that's my favorite color. So I imagine like the fuchsia color coming into my heart chakra, and it's like there's just this calmness, and it just filled my being with love. And so I was just trying to focus on expanding it, you know, out more. So that's what I experienced.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks. I remember you because you are one of the smallest in the group. And you were very even, very bright and white in both hands.
The presence of the ET. But I have never been as relaxed and settled and open. And before I was always scared, to varying degrees. And last night I could feel them there, and I was just, it was kind of amazing for me because I was just perfectly settled, perfectly relaxed, perfectly calm. And when you came around the circle, I felt a whole bunch of tinkles in the right hand, like little ones, like little statics. And, you know, maybe a little in the left, I don't know. But when I got back to my tent, I could not sleep. I have no idea. I thought, am I ever going to go to sleep? But for me, I think the big thing was that the calmness, and this is the first time ever, with that just complete, no fear, no concern, no anxious, no trepidation, just complete.
I was just saying that when it first started, I was feeling a heaviness going back and forth between my hands like this, and it was like a pulsating of energy in both hands, and I thought, well, I must be a both hand person, you know, and I'd feel it in my fingertips, and then he put my hands on my chest, and it just felt like a healing in my heart. I had no agitation, and like Linda was saying, the whole evening was very calm except being cold. That's it.
I felt two things, like during when he was playing the bowls, and singing and the you know, just creating the auditory environment, it felt old and ancient. You know, like we were in the woods, and I imagined something similar happening, you know, maybe a couple thousand years ago, and I got a chance to be a part of that. And also, and then when I heard groups were being called to go do something, and I knew it had to do with some crystals, but I got the feeling that it's like, oh, they were here. So it almost, I kind of had this, like, you know, you're in line at a concert waiting to go see the rock stars sort of feeling. Like, oh, am I worthy? Am I worthy? So I had this, you know, wanting to connect and not project anything, that could be considered negative or fearful, and just wanted to project as much love and acceptance and, gratitude was what I was really trying to connect with.
I was surprised. So we were at the end, and ENRIQUE came up to me and sounded and acted like somebody that didn't seem like him. So anyway, he positioned my hands, and whoever it was looking at them, and I kept waiting for a sensation in my hands, and what I got instead was this piercing pain here, like something just stuck into me, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not the hands. and it was difficult to breathe, but I just started, breathing deeply, and he was saying, that's it, you're doing it, and what I saw was not what I expected to see, because they were tall, skinny cones.
Mm-hmm.
Very tall, and they kept getting very tall and very pointy on the ends.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, good, that's it, and you took these very pointy things, and I thought it was quite forceful.
Mm-hmm. That was stabbing.
You stabbed me.
No, he didn't stab you.
No, you didn't stab me, but this was already here, and it was like right there is where it
Full penetration shot.
And then it was so big, and then the hand was on my back, and I was trying to figure out how did he come his hands together through my body like that. That was amazing, because I couldn't breathe. It's like there's so much in there. I kept waiting, and I'm like, okay, run that energy again. And then finally, I could, and it was like my lungs popped out. But at night, very sore, because I was trying to touch in my tent, and I was very sore here. And if I go to lay on my left side, I could feel my heart hit my mattress. It would go thump, 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 like it was pushed over very far, like something pushed it over. Yeah. So I was uncomfortable on my left side too.
You there,
but it's good today. It's all good.
When I went out there, I just tried to keep my mind quiet. And I had seen prior to getting out there, I could see lots of faint white lights in the background. But when we finally got arranged and we're sitting there with our hands, Kimberly parked in front of me for about a minute, which seems like a long time, given the circumstances. But I wasn't feeling anything in my hands, or so I was just basically waiting, trying to keep quiet. And when you did come around and you put your hands outside of mine, that's when this electric tingling feeling started. It started, and then it just kept increasing and increasing and increasing. My arms started shaking, and I felt, all the hair on my upper torso, anyways, arms were electrified, and it just kept increasing. You asked me what I was feeling, and I don't remember exactly, but I says it feels really strong. And you said something like keep it going, and then you integrated. So that wasn't a strange feeling. I've felt that before several times while meditating and with groups doing contact work. But this it seemed to be emanating from you, or it was amplifying. So that was new to me, to have it localized like that.